Throughout history, power has always shifted between nations and civilizations. In the past few centuries, and up until the mid-20th century, Europe was the center of global power. At the beginning of the 20th century, Britain and France, with vast colonies across the world and with the support of advanced financial and technological resources, were considered the superpowers of their time. With Hitler's rise to power in the 1930s and the outbreak of World War II, Nazi Germany occupied France, and Britain suffered heavy losses. The German forces conquered almost all of Europe, breaking the backbone of the continent's former powers. This situation led to a profound shift in the global balance of power after the war. After World War II, the United States and the Soviet Union emerged as the new superpowers of the world. With the end of World War II, the confrontation between the capitalist bloc and the communist bloc began, and both sides engaged in a Cold War. The United States, by creating NATO, sought to build a barrier against Soviet influence in Western Europe, knowing that Soviet control over Western Europe would mean Soviet control over the world. For this reason, despite the decline of European powers after World War II, Europe still maintained its extraordinary importance in global geopolitics. With the collapse of the Soviet Union and the end of the dream of building a paradise for the working class, several key countries of Eastern Europe joined NATO. Russia, inheriting a vast legacy of communist-era backwardness, was no longer a significant threat to NATO members or to the interests of the United States and Western Europe. With the collapse of the Soviet Union and the weakening of Russia, the threat of its domination over Eurasia largely disappeared. But a new challenge to the global hegemony of the United States emerged: the stunning rise of China. Today, China holds the position of the world's second-largest economy, and in every dimension, it is becoming an unrivaled superpower. That is why containing China has become one of America's top foreign policy priorities. Washington has shifted its focus away from Europe and the Middle East toward East Asia. Partnerships with nations such as Taiwan, South Korea, the Philippines, India, and Japan now hold greater value than its traditional ties with European countries. In fact, the United States has sought to place the economic and security burden of NATO on the shoulders of European governments. And in the Middle East, its strategy has moved toward increasing pressure on Iran and expanding the Abraham Accords to use Israel as a primary lever for advancing its interests. This strategic shift allows the U.S. to concentrate its military power and attention on encircling and containing China in East Asia. It seems that the Green Continent, after several centuries, is losing its key role in the geopolitical equations of the world. Although Europe still holds the position of the world's second-largest economy, its geopolitical importance in relations with the United States is gradually declining in the eyes of Americans, while Europe's reliance on the U.S. for security is growing more than ever.